Something I find myself kind of constantly noticing coming up in my life is taking myself way too seriously. Like, it's just something that will constantly sort of show up. And in the past, I try to sort of rectify this by kind of swinging my personality in another direction. Usually I'll become like, or in the past, I've become very sort of playful and silly and trying to like kind of push and be whatever. But I think it was a very sort of materialistic approach to this, right? I was trying to sort of fix the outward layer of what I thought taking myself seriously meant. And I wasn't really looking at it from a more sort of, I don't know, curious perspective and really seeing kind of what that was pointing to. And now for me, taking yourself too seriously, what that looks like is attaching too tightly to a definition that you've created for yourself, right? That's something that I see now. I think that I'm this kind of person. I know for certain this kind of person is who I am, and then something enters your space and challenges that. But I am very attached to this, so I'm taking myself very, very seriously. I've attached my identity to this sort of definition, this activity, this job, this thing that I did in the past, and I'm allowing that to sort of run interference between me and what wants to happen now. And so I'm taking myself very, very fucking seriously. I think for a lot of people and myself, obviously, it's another way to sort of kind of mitigate fear, right? We are really kind of looking for certainty when we're attaching to our identities. It feels really solid. I know I'm this kind of person and this kind of person and this kind of person. I can look back in my past and I got receipts for why I'm that kind of person. It feels like we did something. But life doesn't really care about the definitions that you put on this shit, right? It doesn't really. You think you're this kind of person and then something shows up. And, you know, I think one of the biggest transitions in our life is going from sort of identifying yourself with your past body, thoughts, emotions, so on, and allowing that sort of identification to fall away and realizing that you really don't know anything, right? I really don't know. I will never actually understand what or who I am. It's actually impossible. That can be a bit of an existential like shit show for so many people. Because a lot of the time, right, that's what we want to do. It feels so good. I think the biggest challenge there is that in the beginning of our sort of wellness, spiritual journey, whatever you want to call it, by and large, what people tend to work with is the sort of material aspects of themselves. So I'm going into my past through therapy, maybe talking to friends, journaling, whatever, and maybe looking at some of the underlying supposed causes for my reactionary behavior and using that to change myself for the better, right? It's incredibly, incredibly useful. And so many people get so much great things out of actually taking a more objective approach or look at their lives and saying, oh, okay, this thing happened in the past. That may be the thing that contributed to this sort of reactionary pattern that continues over the course of my life. This is great. And I think it's because it's so great that letting it go becomes so challenging for all of us because it genuinely changed your life, right? Dealing with yourself as these sort of past conceptions of yourself, the what happened when you were a kid, parents, family, friends, the environment you grew up in, all the societal things, seeing that creating so much change, good shit happened. That being said, sort of the limitation there is what we eventually end up kind of falling into is creating a new identity. Creating a new identity that we think is now solid. Okay, I went back in the past, I dealt with all the other shit, I integrated and worked on myself, and now here's the new me. Around that phase in our life, people start walking around with their chest big, and they're like, yo, I'm glad I know who I am now. They start podcasts and they say stuff like, the most important thing to do is know who you are. You got to know who you are, right? I know who I am now. I know what, and look, This isn't a negation of these certain natural reactive patterns that may or may not show up in your life. It's merely understanding that when you begin to define yourself by a past or a trend, something that has happened again and again and again, when it becomes who you are, it's a cage now. It's a cage. You start to unconsciously move within the parameters you've set for yourself. You fall right back into loops that you weren't expecting to fall back into. Because the issue here wasn't the stuff you were doing. Well, maybe that was kind of the issue. But I think a deeper, more underlying issue is the attachment to the identity. The attachment to who I think that I am. That's what caused suffering, in the beginning, and it's what's going to eventually cause suffering when you've, deleted the old you and you become the new you. The new you, from a rigid, taking yourself too seriously kind of approach, is rigid throughout life. It runs the show now. This is the new me. And so now, what ends up happening is when life, which is the only consistent thing about life, is the fact that it is forever ever changing in every single moment, right? Boom, 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 boom. That's just what's happening. When that shows up for you, right? When it conflicts with the new identity that you've cultivated for yourself, well, now there's resistance. Oh, don't do that, right? It flies in the face of the certainty that we've cultivated with this new, better version of ourselves. And a lot of the times what will happen is, because of the sort of reactivity that shows up, we push, pull, we're triggered again. Oh man, how dare you challenge the new person who I think that I am? How dare you? Right? We fall back into sort of resistant reactive patterns because now we're once again trying to protect and hold on to this new you. Usually these folks, right, when we do this, we're not taking ourselves lightly. Like, we're taking ourselves way too seriously. That's what's usually happening. Right? It's just, oh man, nah, man, I'm not that kind of person. Da, 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 da. What do you need to be in this moment though, bud? Who do you need to be in this moment? And that's really the freedom that shows up when you stop attaching your identity to, these other things, these past conceptions of yourself. Because what ends up happening, right? We've all done this. What we end up doing is, right, we destroy the old you, and now there's the new you, but we attach to it. Now we're fucked again. So now we had to destroy that one because life is like, I don't care. And now there's a new you. A lot of the time, what ends up solidifying this is belief. The belief that this is who I am, the attachment through that belief. And so what people will say is, my belief is that my beliefs can change. My beliefs can change. And usually my response, in a much nicer way than this, is, how much shit can you fuck up in the amount of time it takes you to go, this is challenging my belief, I don't know if I agree with it, before your beliefs actually change? Like, how much tragedy do you create in this short amount of time before you're like, okay, I guess I can destroy that old me and become the new you, right? When we're truthfully off of ourselves, when we're settled into this space from a less defined space, I'm okay with admitting that I don't know. The thoughts that I've defined myself as, the thinking, the past, the emotions, in any particular moment in my life, when I'm taking care to notice them and notice the sort of temptation to react as the sort of triggered response that showed up sensationally in my body, when I slow down and look at that and go, oh, that's something. Right? When we start taking care to notice the thinking that shows up, and we're not resisting it or trying to diminish thinking, but we just see it as it is. Oh, that's some thinking. I'm going to come back and listen to you. I'm going to be with you because you're the most interesting thing in the world, right? I'm not going off in my head and attaching to who I think you should be, how I think you should be. I'm just seeing you as you are right now. I'm being with life as it is right now. There's a stillness there. There's an acceptance there. When you don't attach to who you think you are in any particular moment, what you're doing is opening yourselves up to what needs to happen right now, who you need to be right now. And that's everything and nothing, right? Whatever you need to be, you got it. You can be that. And if we are running from an old program in real time, like, right, trying to grab the past and place it right here and make it run interference, I'm not this kind of person. We're very serious. We're very serious. But what if we don't know, right? Actually, I don't know. Requires me to see life with brand new eyes, see you with brand new eyes, everything. And so, I feel like for me, what that ended up looking like is it's just taking care to try to remember, like, in every single moment, if I can accept whatever this is right now, I don't gotta be so fucking serious. The seriousness just naturally melts away when you see life just as it is. The idea that you could ever control something, the idea that you could ever know anything for certain is hilarious. Right? You can even laugh at the fact that you ever thought that you could know anything for certain, because obviously you did. This is a very sort of normal thing that we all do. That feels right. That has been really useful for us in a lot of ways. But in my experience, part of growing up is being okay with the fact that I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who I am. Right? Let's experience that together. We'll see where we get. I don't know. Take it or leave it. Try it out in your own life. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. Know yourself.